Have you always wanted to start your own business? Do you have an innovative idea or an invention, but just don't know how to turn it into a company? Are you already in business and need some help growing? The BRF's Entrepreneurial Accelerator Program can help. At EAP, we work alongside you, helping you with things like financial modeling, funding strategy, pitch preparation, and marketing strategy. So what are you waiting for? Go to eapla.com today and set up a time to talk with our team. Let EAP help you launch or grow your business in North Louisiana today.
Welcome back to On the Cusp. Back with me for this episode is my co-host Matt Snyder, and you're going to introduce our guest today.
Yeah, I'm happy to have Trent Wierick from The Edge come in today. We've been friends a long time, and always been really impressed with your business and how it's grown throughout the years, for sure.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me on, and again, humbled to be on here, but I love listening to the podcast, listened to a few of them leading up to this, and as I mentioned before, Byron Dawson, man, and what he's doing over at Centenary Football. We got college football in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Yeah, it's
awesome. It's going to be awesome. Bo Hayes' story, I mean, I can't think of a better story than Bo Hayes and what Peanut did over there in
That was
Bossier.
a lot of fun.
I bet it was. I bet it was. Bo is great. I love talking to, I want him just to read me a bedtime story because he's going to make it sound great. So what great people. So thank you guys for doing this.
Yeah, speaking of Byron, and like you know more than anybody, it's amazing how many great athletes Shreveport's really had.
Tons.
Like, and I think you get to see so many of them. That's got to be a cool part.
That's what's really fun about what we do over at the Edge, that we're partnered with D1, or we're in the same building as D1 Sports Training. And how D1 came about, there's a group of college kids that went and played Division I football, and then they came home for the summer, and they said, we don't have any place to train like we do in college. We don't have any place to get therapy like we do in college. Let's figure this thing out. So they started D1 Sports Training, and that's what it is. It's got turf field in there, it's got Olympic weightlifting area, it's got therapy in there. So you get all the things you would get at a Division I school, or really now Division II, III, any school now, the way the facilities and technology is going. So that's how it started, and so now we get a bunch of athletes coming through, and man, I'm shocked by how much. Actually, I'm not shocked because I've seen it a lot, by how much talent there is here in Shreveport and comes out of Shreveport. We every time we get an opportunity to treat one of these athletes, we put a jersey on their wall. Not to say that we treated this person, but to highlight this is a person who's
local
come from
talent.
Shreveport. Yeah, we got a guy from Shreve that's up there. We got a Loyola, Northwood, Evangel, Bird. We got just about every high school represented there, and they've all gone on to do some type of collegiate or professional thing. And there's just a lot of people that have come out of Shreveport.
Yeah, it's so fun to be in there and like peek in and see like who's in there and getting to meet some of those guys and visiting and that's a unique, pretty cool thing that I think.
And they're all great people.
Yeah.
Too.
There's something about Shreveport to where it like brings back the good guys, I think.
I agree.
In a way.
I agree. I think so. I'll share a quick story. I'd never met Terrence Marshall before. But he was in town. He had been playing for the Carolina Panthers, had something he was working on, so he came in and did weightlifting next door and then came over and got some therapy. And I was showing him around the clinic and introducing everybody to him, and I opened the door and I walked through and I noticed he wasn't behind me, but he was holding the door. And I was like, well, come on, man, we're coming this way. He was like, well, I'm going to hold the door for your receptionist who's walking through, and he meets her and shakes her hand, and I'm introducing people, and he walks all the way across the clinic and shakes people's hands. And those are just the kind of people that have come from Shreveport. Bossier with Parkway, but we got tons of those guys that come through here, and it's fun to see.
Tell me about, I know you got out of school, you were a kicker at Tech, you were an athlete, you're a great golfer.
I appreciate
runner.
you saying kickers are athletes, by the way.
I've seen you do other sports, so we're going to count it. But talk about, I know you began as a PT in the hospital like a lot of people do.
That's right.
Talk about the transition and what happened of creation of the Edge. You joined the Edge and becoming a business owner in Shreveport?
Yeah, I worked in the hospital at LSU for 8 years as soon as I graduated PT school, which was here in Shreveport at the school at LSU Health. In my class, I had a friend, Anna Means was her name then, Anna Moore now. She played college basketball at Northwestern. And we had this thought she had always had this thought that she's going to start her own business. And we talked all through school that let's try to figure out a way to do this. Our thoughts and our kind of visions aligned. She was able to start it shortly after school. I worked at the hospital for 8 years, and then in 3 different outpatient clinics, and then eventually ended up joining her at the Edge, and so that's where we're at. We own the Edge together. Learned a ton learned a ton in the hospital. It was great. It was vital for my success as a physical therapist. But at some point, it was time to move on. And then I learned a ton from the transition from going from a hospital-based system to a private practice.
That's right. Nothing against the hospital system is very needed, but I've spent some time with one of my daughters there recently, and it's just quicker moving. It's not quite as personal. And I think what I admire about y'all's place, and I've been able to interact with it a lot over the years, is that you do have a personal touch and you get to know these normal people and athletes. And I'll vouch that I think you have just as good of a relationship with the 60-year-old lady that's knees bothering her as Terrace Marshall. So that's special to me, and that's what a local business is about in my mind.
I 100% agree. If whether it's in healthcare or it's in clothing or the food industry, if you got a good product, first of all, and you are attentive to the customer and their needs, then Shreveport is word of mouth town. It's going to get around, and they'll come to you if you got a good product and you're very attentive to them. If you don't, then you may not. So my dad's a pastor. He always told me that life's about relationships, and I've always just had that in me. And the fact that I get to hold on to somebody's arm and ranging them, and they're crying because they're just trying to get over an injury, and I get to build this relationship with them. It's pretty special. Some of the best and worst days of in our therapy clinic is discharge day, because we've built this relationship with these people. They're better. They get to leave. They get to go on and do their life, but then we don't get to interact as much anymore. So we always tell people on the last day, don't be a stranger, please stick your head in, we'd love to see you. And they do it. They come back in, they give us a hug and say, look what I can do with my arm.
That's great.
One of my favorite relationship stories of you, and this is funny, you may not even remember this really, but this is hilarious, is you built an amazing relationship with Sam Burns, the golfer, when he was a local golfer here.
That's right,
high school, and that relationship was real.
Better guy than he is a golfer. Most people won't know that.
I'm pretty sure it's the first tournament he won. I come in to work out like the next day. It's like the Monday. And I see you through the glass, and I go to rip the door open to tell you, did you see me? And you're like, and pointing at the curtain.
The trophy was sitting right there,
And the trophy from the tournament sitting on the table. And I'm like, no way. And Trent whips the curtain back, and Sam Burns and his wife are sitting on the table bringing the trophy to show Trent. And I was like, that speaks very much to the relationship.
That was fun. When he was coming in, I knew he was coming in. I was like, hey, does that trophy travel? And he was like, oh, yeah, it travels. So he walks in the clinic, and he just hands it to me. And the thing weighed probably, 50 pounds. I wasn't expecting it. It was this big, it was Valspar.
You needed physical therapy afterwards.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I needed therapy on my shoulder. But it was this big, paintbrush swoosh, and he just hands it to me. He was like, check that out, man. Because I've been working with him since he was 17 years old, and this was his first PGA win. And it's always been just a dream to win on the PGA, and finally he did, and he got to share it. I was fortunate to get to share in it with him, and he was just crazy excited that here's his trophy. We did it.
That's so cool. And I think as we're representing Shreveport, and all of us as business owners and people that people see in public eye, I think it's important. And you have a really cool role where you're working with these athletes that are not able to make their money and do their trade in town. But I always am talking to you, and we've talked a lot about how important it is that they come back
Agree.
And show that.
Yeah.
And I think people like you can encourage that. I mean, what do you see in that?
Yes, there's a couple guys that just immediately come to mind. Marquez Stevenson is one. He's currently on the Carolina Panthers roster. He's a receiver, went to Northwood, went to University of Houston, had a stellar career there. Got drafted by the Bills, but now with Carolina. And every time he comes back in town, he comes to the edge, whether he's hurting or not. He comes and sees us. And then he goes to Northwood, and he just goes and hangs out at practice, goes into the weight room, whatever it is, but he's always going back to his school. I think that's just incredible for to speak to his character, but then also just to Shreveport, that he's just ingrained in his school and his city that he wants to come back and just be around and be an inspiration for the next group of people coming back. Another guy's Brandon Wilson.
Nicest guy in the world.
Nicest guy you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
He'll come. He'll work out next door, then come to the edge, and he'll know a lot of the patients by name. He said, "Oh man, you going through an ACL injury? I went through an ACL injury. Let me tell you about it." And there's this 14-year-old kid that's like, "Oh my gosh, this dude wants to tell me about his ACL or hear about mine." He's just a super guy. He and his wife have started a foundation to help with dyslexia in schools. So that's starting to take off now. And the part that I get to play in that is I just get to encourage him and say, dude, it's a need.
Yeah.
Keep going. Keep pushing. Keep going. And so,
well, I think a business like yours, that's the part that people don't see. If you're not doing what you're doing in Shreveport, they can't come get their therapy here.
Yeah.
You know, if we don't have things to the standard of other, and that crosses all kinds of things.
That's right.
You know, we have to have things that are up to the standards that can compete with other cities where if someone wants to be here, they're able to. And I think that Brandon's
agreed.
a great example.
We're fortunate to have that here.
Because, I mean, he was fighting through a very serious injury. And
right.
I mean,
that's right.
The ability to do it here matters a lot.
I tell my daughter all the time, I say, if you don't like sitting on the bench on your soccer team, don't give the coach a reason to sit on the bench in the soccer team. Go out and play hard. I mean, let's don't give people a reason to leave Shreveport, go somewhere else. Let's provide it here to the best of our ability so they don't have to go out of town. They can stay here with their families, be with their family during the off season or whatever it is, and get what they need.
Well, you're an interesting case because if you listen to what people say, there isn't the market here, okay, to do something like you're doing, and they couldn't be more wrong. All right, because you've demonstrated you can do it.
You can. We can't be specific to just treating athletes, nor would I want to do that because I want to be around everybody. But we get to treat all from the total knee to the rotator cuff repair to an athlete who just blew out his knee and he's trying to get back to playing sports. So
I mean, I literally in a workout, Dave, jumped off a box one time. Thought I broke my ankle. It was like I was in the NFL. They had me on a table hooked up within 30 seconds. It was incredible.
We even treat non-athletes. We do it all.
Matt, in my head, I'm the best athlete in that building.
That is good.
No, it's like I said earlier, my dad told me life's about relationships, and if you can't have those and you can't do that, then man, you're just missing out on life.
I tell people all the time, Shreveport is the largest small town you're ever going to be in.
Absolutely.
Okay? Because you never know. Okay? You start talking to you, found out 5 people that we knew together.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay? Right there, and everybody is connected from that perspective.
So we always ask this, and I think it's important to just hear this from different avenues. Is there anything as a business owner that you think was easier because you were in Shreveport? Or anything that you thought was harder in Shreveport or should be improved to make doing business for somebody like you easier?
I'll start with the harder one.
Okay.
The harder part of business in Shreveport, there's a lot of bigger cities that are going to, as far as not just business, but my type of business. There's a lot of physical therapy clinics going towards cash-based services, to where you just pay cash for therapy services. You don't have to go through insurances, which would be fantastic, but we're just not there yet. Shreveport's just not there. There's a handful of people who just want to pay cash and that's it, but you can't make a full business out of that. So that's a difficult thing, but we're used to working with insurances, and unfortunately, reimbursement's going down,
Yes.
and inflation's up, and cost of living's going up, and cost of supplies are going up, and reimbursement's going down. So we don't want to compromise what we're doing from a patient care perspective, but again, reimbursement's going down. So you just got to figure out how to budget around that.
It's a complex balance right there.
It is.
In the medical field.
If you guys have any pull with your congressman, let's write them and try to
Yeah.
get that fixed, get them to go to bat for us. The easy part, or easier part about having business in Shreveport is that it's a word of mouth town, and as long as you do a great job, and you're a personable person, and you pay attention to the details, then you're going to get people coming in your door. So,
Yeah.
And they talk. People talk.
People
Yes,
talk.
they
Yeah.
do.
So that can be an easy and hard thing. It's hard to build. You got to work at building relationships. But when you do, you're going to be rewarded for it.
Yeah, I think with that, you get to know the players, and you can have such a solid support system around, just in your building, having Matt and y'all and everybody working together, kind of pulling their own.
Yeah.
I think you see that a lot.
No
in Shreveport.
players, patience. I've treated people on and off for different injuries over the years of just regular people. And I get to watch their kids grow up, or listen about their kids and hear their kids grow up, and I almost feel like I've gone to their kids' football games, or I've treated their kid. So it's just a lot of fun being involved in somebody's life on a daily basis.
Well, Trent, thank you very much for coming. It's
Yeah,
a unique business you got there, and we're proud to have you here in Shreveport.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
enjoyed being here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, good.